Zilvara lounged on the silk-draped bed, listening to the muffled whispers beyond the heavy doors. She didn't need her sight to know what they were saying. They had been repeating the same nonsense since the day she was born. A disgrace to the royal line, a cursed burden, a wasted womb. If she had a credit for every time someone wished she'd just ascend to the stars, she could have bought her own moon and disappeared from this miserable palace. Her fingers trailed across the smooth surface of the ceremonial staff resting beside her. It was thicker, heavier than she expected. Almost phallic? She frowned. "Luri," she called to her handmaiden. "Why does this staff have a pulse?" A strangled cough. "That's, princess, that's not your staff." Zilvara's brow lifted. "Then what is it?" A beat of silence. The door slammed open before Luri could respond, sparing her from answering. Heavy boots echoed through the chamber, accompanied by the scent of something foreign. Spiced. Sharp. Human. "Let me guess," Zilvara drawled, feigning boredom. "Another healer, another mystic, another waste of time?" "A miracle worker," a voice corrected. Her pulse stuttered at the smooth, cocky tone. Not because she was impressed, she had heard enough false promises to last a lifetime, but because there was something irritatingly confident about him. Like he wasn't just another fraud peddling cheap hope. "Human," she said flatly. "You catch on quick, princess. You reek of lies. I prefer the term creative problem-solving." Zilvara exhaled sharply, fingers tightening around the misplaced staff. "Then do me a favor and creatively solve your way out of my chambers before I have you thrown out." A chuckle. He had the audacity to chuckle. "Wouldn't be the first time I was thrown out of a royal bedchamber," he mused. She stiffened. The arrogance. The sheer nerve of this man. "If you're expecting me to be charmed, you should know." "I'm not here to charm you, princess," he interrupted, stepping closer. "I'm here to fix you." Her lip curled. "How generous of you. A man who's never met me suddenly wants to fix me. Why? Out of the kindness of your heart?" "Gods, no." He laughed. "I just like proving people wrong." She should have ordered him away. She should have snapped her fingers and had the guards remove him. Instead, she tilted her head, listening. The room was still. The usual murmurs from her attendants, the quiet shuffling of feet, gone. Interesting. "Where are my servants?" she asked. "Elsewhere." She inhaled, the scent of him stronger now. He was close. Closer than anyone had dared come before. "You enjoy testing boundaries, don't you? Only when there's something worth testing." He coiled in her stomach, unfamiliar and unwanted. "You sound awfully confident for someone who doesn't even know what's wrong with me. Blind, weak limbs, brittle bones, no chance of producing an heir. Did I miss anything?" She bared her teeth. "You're missing the part where I tear your tongue out for speaking to me like that. Now, see, that's interesting." He leaned in, voice dipping lower. "You don't sound like a fragile, helpless little thing. You sound dangerous." A shiver crawled down her spine. She hated it. "You're playing a dangerous game, human." He made a noise of amusement, warm breath fanning against her cheek. "I like danger." Zilvara clenched her fists. This man, whoever he was either fearless, foolish, or both. Probably both. She should send him away. She should let him stay. She should stop thinking about the way his voice curled like smoke in the space between them. "Fine," she said at last, forcing calm into her tone. "Go ahead. Fix me." Another chuckle. "You might regret that, princess. Try me." "Oh, I intend to." Zilvara sat cross-legged on the silk sheets, arms crossed, lips pressed into a thin line. "So let me get this straight. Your plan to heal me isn't medical, isn't scientific, isn't even remotely logical. You're going to scam the gods?" Gavin grinned, all teeth, all mischief. Scam is such a nasty word. I prefer persuasion. You're insane. That's what they told the first guy who milked a venom beast and decided to drink it. Now we have tequila. Her brows furrowed. I don't know what any of that means. He waved a hand. Doesn't matter. What matters is that your people's gods are a bunch of lazy, self-important bureaucrats with an outdated system. And I happen to be very, very good at finding loopholes. She exhaled sharply. And what loophole have you found? He took a seat beside her, far too close, the heat of his body seeping into her skin. Your gods claim that only the truly worthy can be healed, right? That's why all the priests' prayers, all the rituals, all the miracle workers before me failed. They couldn't make the gods give a shit. Zilvara arched a brow. And you can? Oh, I can force them to. She let out a short laugh, disbelieving. How? Gavin's grin widened. By making them jealous. A beat of silence. Then, I'm sorry, what? You heard me, princess. He leaned in, voice dripping with amusement. Your gods demand a pure, untouched sacrifice, a helpless little thing to offer their mercy to. But what if? He dragged a fingertip along the inside of her wrist, feather-like, teasing. What if you weren't so untouched anymore? Her breath hitched. You're suggesting that in order to regain my strength, I need to. Let's call it recontextualizing your divine image. Zilvara's entire body flushed. You are out of your mind. Correction, I'm in my mind. And my mind happens to be very good at reading the fine print. She shook her head. Even if I entertain this insanity, what exactly does this recontextualizing entail? He smirked. Would you like a demonstration? Before she could retort, his fingers brushed along her jaw, tilting her face toward him. She inhaled sharply, her skin burning under his touch. Relax, princess, he murmured. I'm not asking you to throw yourself at me just yet. But if we're going to make the gods jealous enough to grant you power, we need to convince them that I'm taking something they want to keep untouched. She swallowed. And how do we do that? His thumb traced lazy circles on her wrist. We give them a show. Zilvara sucked in a slow breath, mind racing. This was insane. Absurd. Impossible. And yet, heat curled deep in her gut at the thought. At the possibility. She had spent her whole life as a fragile, useless thing. A burden. A disappointment. But what if for once she wasn't? What if she could change? What if this ridiculous, infuriating human was right? Gavin's voice was a whisper against her skin. What do you say, princess? Want to piss off some gods? Her lips parted. Fine, she breathed. But if this doesn't work, I will kill you. Gavin chuckled, warm and dark. That's the spirit. Zilvara lay still, body tense, heart pounding harder than it should. Gavin's fingers trailed along the side of her neck, slow, deliberate, as if mapping the shape of her pulse. You're overthinking, he murmured, voice dangerously smooth. Hard not to when a lunatic human is touching me under the pretense of scamming gods. She shot back, but the sharpness in her tone didn't quite land. He chuckled, the sound warm, maddeningly self-assured. It's working, though. I can feel it already. She frowned. Feel what? You? Reacting. Her breath hitched, mortified. I am not reacting. His fingers skimmed her collarbone. Then why is your skin so warm, princess? Zilvara clenched her teeth. Because you're too close. Exactly. She wanted to shove him away. Wanted to slap that smugness right off his face. Wanted to. Her body shuddered, and suddenly something shifted. A pulse of heat, raw and electric, rippled beneath her skin. Her fingers twitched. A prickling sensation ran up her spine, spreading through her limbs like fire licking at dry wood. Her breath stilled. What was that? Gavin's voice was low, almost a purr. That, princess, was the gods realizing I might be a problem. She swallowed hard. It felt good? She hated that she didn't immediately deny it. Instead, she pressed her palms against his chest, meaning to push him away. But gods, his body was solid. Warm. Nothing like the cold, distant figures she had spent her life around. She inhaled sharply. I hate you. That's fair, he said easily. Most women say that before they fall for me. I am not falling for you. We'll see. His lips brushed the shell of her ear. You're already letting me touch you. Her claws dug into his shirt. I should kill you. But you won't. Another pulse shot through her. Stronger this time. And then, she gasped. A rush of sensation crashed over her, overwhelming, blinding. Blinding. Light. Colors. Movement. For the first time in her life, she saw. Her breath caught, the sheer enormity of it slamming into her. The deep blue of the chamber walls, the golden flicker of firelight, the absurdly human face hovering inches from hers. She stared at him, at the sharp angles of his jaw, the amused glint in his eyes. You? Yup, Gavin said, lips quirking. Told you. Loopholes. Zilvara's vision blurred, emotion surging, too many at once. She clenched her fists. Damn you! His grin widened. You're welcome. Zilvara's fingers trembled as she touched her own face, as if confirming that this was real. Sight. She had sight. The concept was too big, too overwhelming, but the evidence was undeniable. The flickering firelight, the opulent chamber, the smirking human standing far too close. Gavin gave her a lazy grin. Well, what do you think? She inhaled sharply. I think I should strangle you. Now, princess, he mused, stepping even closer. That's not very grateful of you. Her claws twitched. Grateful? You con the gods into restoring my sight through indecency. He let out a bark of laughter. Indecency? Princess, I barely touched you. If that was enough to piss off your gods, imagine what'll happen if we... She slapped a hand over his mouth. Finish that sentence, and I will kill you. His eyes gleamed with amusement. He muttered something against her palm, and when she pulled away, he smirked. Just saying, we could test the limits. Maybe see how strong the gods are willing to make you. Her cheeks burned, but before she could respond, the chamber doors burst open. A flood of royal attendants poured in, gasping, gaping, whispering frantically. She sees. The gods have blessed her. This must be a divine act. Zilvara pinched the bridge of her nose. It is not divine, you fools. It's... She glanced at Gavin, who raised a brow, mouthing, Careful. She exhaled slowly. It's a miracle, yes. Now leave. The attendants bowed so fast she thought they might snap in half before scurrying away to spread the news. She turned on Gavin. You planned this. He winked. Of course I did. What's a miracle without an audience? Her nostrils flared. And what happens when the gods realize they've been tricked? His grin didn't waver. Who says they were tricked? Maybe they're just playing along. Her stomach tightened. She didn't trust it. Didn't trust him. And yet, she flexed her fingers. Strong. They felt strong. Her gaze locked onto his, wary. And now what, human? Gavin shrugged, stepping back toward the open balcony. Now, you get to decide what comes next. Stay here, be the miracle princess your people always wanted, or... He tilted his head. Come with me. See what other rules we can break. Zilvara's heart pounded. She should stay. She should go. She should stop thinking about the way his smirk made her stomach flip. She exhaled. Damn him. Damn herself. She took a step forward. His grin widened. "Atta girl!